Hey everybody, welcome back to the Centerville Grace Podcast, where every single week we do our very best to help you, our church family, dive deeper into community to make sure that no one walks alone. After our week off, after Labor Day, we're back and better than ever. Dave, what are some things in the church happening that people need to know about?
Oh man, there's a lot of going. I mean, this is
It's
the
a
season.
busy season.
Busy season. So, listen, we have. If you're new to the church, we have Discover Grace going to be starting up in a couple weeks. That's where my wife and I host a four Sundays in a row time together, where we're just talking about the heart of really our hearts and our heart for disciple making and helping people just get connected better to our church and our church's vision. So. It's a chance to meet not just us, my wife and I, but the staff are going to be there as well. So that's always good, and other newer folks in the church. So that's one thing.
Addition to that, Dusty's September 17th. We got a big event coming up Wednesday night in the church.
Yeah, we've got a vision night. It's going to be so good. You feed these to me at this point.
I'm learning.
I know.
Learning.
I can tell when you look in my eyes, you're like, I hope you remember what this is.
Yep.
And I just looked at 15 dates in September. But
yep.
That one in particular, Wednesday night, I think it's 6:30 to 8 p.m. We've got a vision night. So what we're going to do, that is where Pastor Dave and Tony, you guys both get to get up there and cast a little bit of vision.
I think there'll be a lot of us up there.
Yeah.
Sure. Have some worship time. We're going to have some desserts involved, but it's the time to get to know why we do what we do as a church, where we are investing financial and time resources throughout the rest of this year and going into 2026, and just casting a vision for where we're going as a church.
Yeah, we're going to get updates as far as we've been doing this Thrive campaign for over
almost a year.
Yeah. And so want to get an update as far as what has happened, what has come in, what are the needs that are still there, and just kind of give everybody a picture of where we are and where we're headed. Yep.
I'm super excited about it because we're really going to lean into the idea of why we're doing what we're doing and what we see coming next. Some big updates and some exciting things. So also at the end of September, the 28th, is the Disciple Making Celebration Luncheon. So you know that one of the things that we take really serious around here is disciple making. So if you're in a disciple making relationship, we want to celebrate you. We want to celebrate the person you're discipling. So there's a luncheon that we're going to have after church on the 28th. We're going to kind of come away with some really practical tools for you to put in your tool bag, but also celebrate all that God continues to do in and through the church in the area of disciple making. Mm-hmm. So really excited about all of that. How many years have you been doing the luncheons?
Oh, man.
This is year 3 for me.
Yeah.
So probably 2-3 years before that?
At least.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're disciple making here at Centerville Grace, we'd love to see you at this event. Speaking of disciple making and handing off the baton.
I saw that transition coming. I like it.
Tell us about the new sermon series. And you started the sermon off with a video on what happens when we drop the baton. Tell us kind of how did that come to fruition? What is the vision, mission, intention of this sermon series?
Yeah, as part of our Thrive campaign, we made a commitment to really focus on the next generation. And so we wanted to share with everybody just the progress and the vision and where we're headed, and just trying to get more and more people on board with it's not just an individual race that we're running here as Christ followers. It's more than that. We're actually running a relay race where if we're not passing the baton on, which is our faith, to the next generation, then we ultimately all lose. So we have to get this right, and this is something that every generation is entrusted with, and you can see that throughout the history of the scriptures. This is something of God's heart. This is how He's designed faith to come about. It's not just you're born with it. You don't suddenly wake up one day having it. It's somebody investing into you, which is disciple making, right? This is what the whole heart of disciple making. It's someone investing into you, sharing the story of who God is and what He's done and how this changes our life and how to live in light of all that. So that's the heartbeat of the series, of just kind of casting the vision of what we could be doing as a church and how much of an impact we can make through the next generation and our next generation specifically.
Yeah. Dusty, one of the things that I know that all three of us are burdened with is the next generation. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, how do you wrestle with being present and serving the next generation, knowing that it affects your kids and all the kids in the church?
Yeah, I mean, it's a high level of importance. So, like, passing on the baton is a legacy of faith that you want to give to your kids. And down the road, you want to your kids to give that to their kids. And like, here's the deal. I am 40 years old. All right. Not to brag, as the youngest of the three of us, by just a tiny little bit.
Hurtful.
Oh, man.
Sorry. But here's the thing.
It's fine. I can't stop it.
But when it comes to legacy of faith, it's already past my time. Like, it's already time for me to start passing that along to my kids. And it's probably been that time for a little while now. Like, I need to make sure I'm investing in my kids to know that they've got faith that they can hold on to that's real to them. So right now, even at like 40, for me, it's all about the next generation. And like, I already want to be, I don't want to say sacrifice. That sounds weird, but like, it's not about my preference at this point. It's not about what I want when we come together as a congregation. It's about what legacy do we need to leave to our kids and to everybody that's watching how we're living our lives and how we have lived our lives. So like, everything we do should have a high level of ownership. That's a reason that we put, kids back in the tech booth and AV, like, they help us run things. We try to give them a high level of ownership because I think for a lot of us, we had high levels of ownership when we were at young ages. And the church always needs to be ready to give over those reins. And we need to be ready to sacrifice our own preferences for the next generation because our time's already passed.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really hard for me is that I definitely want to do all of that, and I don't feel like I'm done growing yet either.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so there's a natural,
hopefully never will be. Right?
There's a natural tension in like, well, what about what I need? What about what I want? What about what my preferences are? And so, Dave, I want you to talk to our church family member out there who might be feeling the same way as I am, which is like, what about what I want in a church? How do we live in that tension of what we want in a church and what our kids want in the church?
Yeah, well, I think you're just bumping up against the next level of your maturity, right? And so, oftentimes I think we do what we want. We want what we want when we want it, kind of thing, right? But I think part of growing is this letting go and sacrificing, as you said. That's a good word. I think you just got to sacrifice. It's not something we would normally do. It's not something we want to do, but for the sake of the mission and for the sake of your own growth, maybe God is calling you out of your comfort zone and into the next stage of growth, and just realizing it's not about you. And like, who are you here for? I think that's a question that I keep coming back to often, is just, who am I here for? Am I here for me, or am I here for other people? And who am I here for specifically? And as we talk about the next generation or our next generation, we need to be there for them. So yeah, it's a tension we feel, and I think that's something that's a great opportunity to offer to God. God, I'd prefer this. I would really enjoy this. But for the sake of the mission, for the sake of what you're calling me into, I'm willing to let that go. And that's disciple making too, in personal, like one-on-one disciple making. We have to give up our time, our schedules, for the sake of the other person.
Dust, same question to you. What are you telling somebody in the church who is sitting across from you saying, but this is not the way I want my church to look?
Yeah. I would say, I would just challenge the word my, right? Like, yeah, we're a part of the church, but it's never my church. It's never our church. Like, there is no point in Scripture that we see people coming together without some kind of sacrifice to God and the action of God in their lives. So when we come together as a church, like, there is always a sacrifice there. It's always about, what does God want? So if I ask, what does God want? I think it's really hard to get stuck on my own preferences, because my preferences are probably, I assume, not what God wants most of the time. They're just my preferences, right? There's nothing holy about my preferences. I just like what I like, and I know what I'd prefer, and I have a certain way that I would like things to be done. I have a certain way I'd like it to look and to feel and to sound, and it's just not about me at the end of the day. And like, praise God for that. I don't want it to be about me, because I don't want to go to a church that doesn't challenge my own preconceptions of how I would be comfortable approaching God. Because like, the core component of growth is what? We don't grow through comfort, we grow through discomfort. We grow through sacrifice, we grow through, giving the reins of ownership to other people, even though we think that we could do it better. And sometimes we know we can do it better. But that's not what that looks like. It's all about passing things on to the other generation. It's about sacrificing something. So if I'm coming to church for a long time and I'm never making any sacrifices, I'm never uncomfortable, that's probably not a great place for me to be.
Dave, one of the things that you said in the sermon that was really powerful for me was this idea about being a museum or movement. Talk us through that part of your thought process when crafting the message, and really help us wrestle with, how do we know when we become a museum?
Yeah, well, a museum is just looking back. I mean, that's what museums are for. There's just ancient relics that are in there, and it's great history, but there's no future oriented anything in a museum. It's just all in the past. So if we let go of our next generation, if we forgo them, and we don't have any of them, it's just like, what are we? We are just, what do we have left? We have the present and the past. Is basically, that's it, and no future. And I'm so future oriented. Like, I was just walking with Beth the other night saying, I just have a hard time looking back a lot, because I just want to keep looking ahead so much. And it's like that, we got to have that as part of our church. Not that history isn't good, and we need to honor those who've come before us, and we stand on big shoulders, but where are we ultimately looking at? It's the future. We got to have the future. Yeah.
One of the interesting things about movements is that it's a constant process of change. And so one of the questions I'd love to ask, love to hear from both you guys on, is how do you get good at change? Dusty, we'll start with you.
Ooh, yeah. So the one thing I do know about myself already is I am a change-oriented person. Like, I think statistically, most people dislike change just at the core of their being. Like, for most people, that's uncomfortable. For me, like, I thrive in change. I love it. I get really bored when things are the same way for too long. But that's not super common, I don't think. So, like, I understand that, like, usually my desire to change is probably going to come faster than a lot of people's desire to change. But at the same time, like, we looked at all these statistics for what Gen Z is, what's occurring within Gen Z. It's like we are seeing the highest rates of Gen Z coming to church, attending church, placing a high value on being involved in spiritual community. And we've got to create a place for them. Like, we've got to be ready for what people need from the church. And, you know, like, God never changes. That's the consistent part, right? We know that God never changes. But our response to what God's doing and how we make sure we're ready for the mission of the next step of what God is doing, we always have to be ready for that change. So for us, it's about looking forward to the future with excitement, saying there's a giant untapped potential that is right around the corner. That if we're tired of seeing church numbers, attendance numbers going downhill, hey, the good news is the solution's already there. We just have to create a community that generation wants to be a part of. So to me, that's the question. How do we create that community? Because they're already there. And if they're not going to come here, they're going to go somewhere else. If they're not going to find our community, they're going to find other community. At the end of the day, I just want them to find Christian community. It doesn't matter if it's here or anywhere else. But, like, I think we all want to be a part of that. We all want people we can invest in that hopefully take something from us, and we can help invest in them spiritually, and we can walk alongside them as disciple makers. And, like, that's our dream at the end of the day.
Yeah, one of the things I think is so important is that God doesn't change, but we do, right? And seasons and everything in the world is cyclical, right? And so we have to kind of lean into those ideas of, like, hey, what was will not be what will be, right? Like, that sentence didn't make any sense, but you get it. Like, things are changing, right? Things are always changing. All of creation was designed to have seasons, and I think that's an important thing for us to lean into. So whenever I'm struggling with change, I tend to look at the seasons. I tend to go outside because all of creation changes, even though the arc of what God created stays the same. What about you?
What was the initial question?
How do you practice getting good at change?
I don't know if I am good at change. But I'll tell you, if I believe the change is better, then it's so much easier to adopt the change, right? If I offered you a brand new Mercedes for your car right now, you'd be like, sold, right? Because the change would
I don't want
better.
The payment, though.
No, it'd be free.
But you can donate to Tony at Centerville Grace.
.org. Yep.
So just always trying to look for how is the change better for me, better for whatever. And if it's not, that's the hard pill to swallow. And sometimes it won't always be better in the sense of, at least initially, and that's going to be the hard part for people with change. It's just the reality of it. So I think back when the temple was destroyed and they rebuilt the new temple, there was a lot of weeping and there was a lot of celebrating. The people who were celebrating didn't understand and see the first temple. The people who were weeping were the ones who saw the first temple, and that was the tension with the rebuilding of the temple. But yeah, change is always hard because it's more energy and more. You have to figure everything again, and it's just hard. But if it's better on the other end, I think that's giving the people vision and having a vision of why we're doing this change is always important.
Well, I think defining better is a hard thing sometimes, isn't it? Because it can be
sure.
better for the mission, but worse for me personally.
Yeah.
Right? If it means, hey, let's say we see that here at Centerville Grace, it's like now we've got, a mass amount of, maybe this Gen Z coming through our doors and we're seeing them, but that means the service feels very different. I can say objectively, yeah, it's better because things are growing and moving, but for me, it might be more uncomfortable. So for me, it might feel worse.
Yeah.
So it's just really hard to define those terms sometimes.
Right. So when we talk about better for the next generation, are we making things better for them? In the sense of, are we trying to set them up better? Are we preparing them better? Are we equipping them better? That's what I want to make better here.
Yeah.
So that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah. And hopefully we believe that the best is yet to come. Like that's, to me, the saddest reality we could ever live in is to constantly look to the nostalgia of the past at the expense of the excitement of what the future could be.
Yeah.
And then when we run out of that vision, we run out of those ideas for, man, this was beautiful and this worked for a set of time, but there's something that could be even more beautiful around the corner. That's what we believe about revival, right? We believe revival could spark at any time.
Yep.
And that's what we're praying for.
Yep.
But I also have this little nagging feeling that I think a lot of us wouldn't be ready for it. A lot of us might hate it, even if it did happen, because it might be different.
Well, it's going to interrupt all of my plans.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. When the Lord comes in a very strong, powerful way, what we have will soon fade away to nothing. Mm-hmm. And that can be tough.
It can be tough.
We have to trust in His goodness in the midst of it.
But if you're seeking revival, if you're asking God for revival, if you're praying towards that end, I think we're going to be excited.
Sure, I agree.
I think that's just a heart posture. Where's our heart coming into the revival if it's happening? Yeah.
So this week we specifically talked about Connect and our student ministry.
Yeah.
We announced the hiring of Chloe, which I know we're all super excited about.
Yeah.
Coming alongside Pastor Casey and some of that work together. I would love for us to do a little rapid fire on some things that we can do to connect with that generation. So I'm talking 6th grade to 12th grade. And so, for example, one of the ways that we can connect with that generation is by serving in Connect, right? Especially, we need some dudes in there. So if you're a dude and you're listening to this, we need you. Need 4 of them. What's another way?
As I mentioned at the service, it's just getting to know names. Mm-hmm. The more that they're known and cared for, I think that's going to create another level of community for our young people here. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll tag along with that. That was a great challenge, and I realize it's not something I'm great at either. Is how many of our students' names do I know if I just see them walking by? I know the faces, but I haven't always stopped to have conversations to really see what their lives are like.
Yeah.
So that's my personal challenge. I took that from that is I'm going to get to know 10 students around here and just maybe I take them out, probably not for coffee. I don't know what the age limit is on that kind of stuff, but get to just know their lives a little bit. What's going on? We did I got to go along with Casey and the youth to a Kings Island trip a little while back, and that was really cool. Just because there was hey, that's 15 kids I've never had the opportunity to sit down and interact with for that long of a period of time, and they were all really impressive, to be honest with you. The stuff they knew, the stuff that they were pulling out, theologically, socially, they just were great people to talk to.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we can do is show up where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Not ask them to show up where we are, which I think is one of the tendencies that I get to a little bit. So go to the games, go to the events, go to the plays, go to all the different things. Any other thoughts?
There's so many things that you could do. People have hosted, I'm just thinking back when I was in youth,
Mm-hmm.
there were families who hosted things who didn't have any kids in the youth group, but they had a boat or they had a pool or they had something where we could go over and hang out and
Super
do something
fun.
with,
Yeah.
And so if you have anything that you think the youth would enjoy, man, invite them in those spaces and use your resources to help out the youth group.
Yeah, hospitality is a huge tool. And that's something that I think a lot of our people have the ability to do, is just to be hospitable and create friendly environments.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities for all of us to lean into the next generation. So we want to encourage you to do that. We want to encourage you to pass the baton, get to know people, get to know their hearts, get to know where God is calling them, and let's give them permission to take that next step. Closing thoughts.
I I was just thinking about one other thing, actually.
Go for it.
When I was in high school, we had a guy in our church who would lend out his Corvette to somebody who's going to prom.
Wow.
Dave at CentervilleGrace.org.
And I think back on that. I'm like, this guy didn't know me from Adam, but I drove over there. I got it set up, and he just gave me the keys and said, bring it back when you're done. And I was like, that is so nice. And so this idea of just being generous towards our youth, in one way or another, can we just extend some generosity towards them? I think would be just a huge bridge builder between generations.
So good. Well, friends, that's our podcast for today. As always, if you need anything from us, we're embarrassingly easy to find. We hope and pray that you'll consider ways that you can pass the baton on to the next generation. So until next week, be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts or our YouTube channel. And remember, no one walks alone.